Very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us here on KTN News. For News Desk, we have a lot lined up for you, things that are happening in the country and beyond. My name is Akisa Wandera. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is at the moment holed up in talks with 4 presidential candidates over the controversy surrounding ballot papers. Jubilee NASA and Cyrus Jirongo have sent representatives to the meeting. Our senior reporter Rita Tinina has been camping at the Anniversary Tower. She will be joining us later with details. But at this moment, one of the presidential candidates, Ekuru Aukot from the Third Way Alliance is giving his submissions. Let's listen in.
Judge Ekaterina Trendavilova at the ICC again reminded us in 2012 that without proper management of Kenyans' power, as enshrined in the Constitution 2010, that all power belongs to the sovereign people of Kenya as exercised through their fair and transparent election, Kenya is likely to burn again. We are appalled by the developing story that casts doubt and bias in the transparency of the ballot papers tender to a Dubai firm that, according to media reports, directly solicited for the tender from the president and whose local contacts are members of the president's family. If these reports are true, the credibility of the upcoming polls have been compromised and Kenyans are being prepared for what is likely to become, in the fullness of time, shambolic and disorganized or otherwise already rigged elections. We, the Third Way Alliance Kenya, put IEBC chairman, commissioners and senior management on notice that they are responsible for any consequence that may result from the conduct of the upcoming polls. Particularly, we inform them that Kenyans will hold them responsible for any violence and disruptions that may result from a rigged election, especially now that there is consensus that our Burar firm of Dubai should not print these ballot papers. We also put Jubilee Party on notice and President Uhuru Kenyatta, together with his family members, herein implicated on notice that they have no business responding on behalf of IEBC unless they are now in bed with IEBC in the unfolding attempt at subverting the election process. We ask for investigation in the process of awarding the tender and the issues surrounding the Dubai firm and its connections to the IS office in Kenya. This should attract criminal sanctions, and we hope the DPP is listening to us. We should not allow our country to be sacrificed at the altar of greed by a few people who are just chasing the 2.5 billion by risking this country going back to the dogs. We know how big businesses are solicited in our country, especially the so-called big tenders. This is the work of the usual cartels whose connections run up to the IS offices in government. We call on IEBC to cancel the Dubai farm tender and award to an independent printing firm that has no connection to any party contesting the elections of August 8, 2017. Our proposal is that the printing of ballot papers be awarded to an independent printer, but on supervision of the United Nations. In the last presidential election Supreme Court ruling, the judges in their ruling raised serious questions surrounding the procurement process within IEBC to the run-up of the last general election. And it is strange we are seeing the repeat of the same issues 5 years later. You know, we wonder, why can't we learn from our past mistakes as a country, as IEBC? In the just concluded stakeholder conference, IEBC emphasized and captured the importance of trust in conducting elections. Third Way Alliance Kenya calls on IEBC to be more vigilant in handling the anticipated general election as Kenyans go to polls to exercise their first sovereign power through a fair and transparent election. Finalizing the procurement of election-related tenders in a fair and legal process is the only acceptable standard that Third Way Alliance will accept as we move closer to August 8 general election. That is the position of Third Way Alliance Party Kenya, and we stand by it.
What position has IEBC given you?
IEBC has promised that based on the consultation that has taken place, that they will go back to the drawing board and probably they will issue a statement in the course of the day. So we are waiting.
But during the deliberations, was there any consensus in terms of whether you should get a different...
This is how the consensus arose. NASA accused Jubilee of having contact with Al Ghurair farm. Jubilee actually did not deny. And as a matter of fact, Honorable Tuju, I think you interviewed, admitted that they have no problem with a tender, a printing of ballot going to any other farm. In fact, he even said that let it even be given to Pearl Media Limited that's allied to NASA. So that is the extent to which the consensus was. And IEBC has not given an alternate opinion.
So are they giving it to Pearl?
We don't know. I mean, that was Tuju's proposal, give it to Pearl Media Limited, and ODM says no to Al Ghurair. So for us, we felt, well, there's already contestation between these two people. They are all implicated because these printing media houses are all allied to them one way or the other. In fact, Honorable Tuju shared information that Pearl Media had met the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in South Africa, I think several times. So they all have, they all admitted to guilt that we are trying to influence this election. And that's why we say, for us, I think let's use the United Nations since the question of trust is there.
Do you have enough time?
For printing the ballots? I think we could do it. I mean, what is the option right now? If we go with Al Ghurair farm, it means President Uhuru is starting, ahead of everybody else because of the implication. And remember, even in the write-up that IEBC gave us, they have actually given an allowance of about 1% for extra ballots. So how do we stop staffing, for example, which is an election offense? So there's every possibility. The question is really trust. The question is bias. The question is likelihood of bias, and which all of them have admitted. So honestly, I mean, if IEBC, I think, had enough courage, we could probably disqualify both NASA and Jubilee from this election, and especially their candidates, because there is clear indication that all of them have tried to influence the firm that will print the ballots, and we don't know what other discussion has gone behind curtains about how they could possibly get extra ballots for staffing. This is already an issue that calls for an investigation into the candidature of President Uhuru, into the candidature of Raila Amolo Odinga, and I believe they should be disqualified from this election.
Who came up with the issue of they should involve UN?
Pardon me?
Who came up with the UN?
This is our proposal from Third Way Alliance, Kenya. And because...
what was the response of IEBC?
They didn't give any response. So we are yet to wait for what response they will give. But I think that, for me, is the most viable option. The United Nations has held elections in many countries, especially countries where there's emerged from conflict or there's disagreement. And I think, for me, this is the best arbiter. I mean, if they can trust the UN to fund some of our electoral processes, including the conference that just ended yesterday, then they might as well trust the UN to print this or to supervise the printing of this ballot. And I think that's the fairest way to go about this election, because the dangers are actually there. And remember, and I must say this IEBC came into office in January, and it didn't just happen like that. Remember, it was the CORD coalition now that has bastardized itself into NASA that actually pushed for that IEBC to be disbanded. I mean, the commissioners to be disbanded. And then in agreement with Jubilee, they disbanded that commission. They are again starting another set of problems for us over the tender. So I think really, if Kenyans are listening, now they know where the problem in this country is. This is people who are just interested in money. They are not interested in the peaceful coexistence of this country. I think for them it's about how much cut they can make. No wonder all the corruption scandals we've had in this country have never been resolved, because none of them can eyeball the other and say you are responsible for Anglo Leasing, for Goldenberg, for Eurobond, Kazi kwa Vijana, the Mahindi scandal, and all those other things that we know. I mean, Kenyans really should wake up. For the last 15 years, we've entertained the same fellows in leadership, in government in this country. And that's why we are facing this problem. We are facing this uncertainty. We are facing hopelessness in this country, because we keep on just picking the same monkeys who keep on shifting to different forests.
something on the
Kuna wengine pia president candidates wengine
tarehe 24 mwezi wa 5 IEBC inaeleza kwamba mlikutana na mkaweza kuafikiana kwamba huu mfumo waliuchukua ndio mfumo utakaochukuliwa kwa kampuni hiyo. Mbona mkageuka?
Sisi hatukualikwa.
Third Way Alliance presidential candidate Ekuru Aukot, they're giving their party's position over the storm that is the tender awarded to Dubai-based company